RMIT, Deakin and La Trobe gave me 30%. Swinburne gave me 50%.
50%?
Yes.
What the fuck was I on? I'm on 10%, bro.
So it was like COVID and, these guys were giving out big scholarships.
To all the international students out there, when COVID hits again, alright, apply.
Yes.
You get 50%.
The place I'm staying at is actually a really fun place, a 21-bedroom mansion.
20 what?
21. This is the only one that was actually like close to the photos. These stock photos up, and then you go in there, it's like complete trash. You go in there and it's like completely littered and you just can't stay there.
Just go out for coffee, and then the hot chocolate turned to hot mocha, and then mocha turned to latte, and then latte turned to cappuccino, and then now I'm just... That's when you know you became Australian, man.
When you're ready to pay $5 for a coffee.
Yeah. Next thing you know, you buy 2 coffees in one day. You've lost your Indian citizenship,
so
bro.
Expensive.
No more Indian citizenship for you. You're done. So, Aravind, finally, you're on the podcast again. We actually did a podcast with our school, and that's how I met you. But now you're back on my podcast, thank God. We're going to talk a little bit more casually this time, all right? So we're going to start with where you're from and why did you decide to be an international student, and which school you're coming from, what course you're doing. Just introduce yourself to the audience.
Yes, so firstly, thank you for having me, Hammy. It's fantastic to be back. So I'm Aravind Srihari. I did my Bachelor of Business, Accounting and Finance at Swinburne. So I'm from Chennai, India. And why I chose to be an international student? Well, so big part of my family actually lives in Melbourne. So I have been to Melbourne a couple of times as like vacations, once in 2012 and 2018 as well. So it was like every time I used to come here, I really used to, enjoy the city. And when I came in 2018, I went and visited La Trobe Uni at Bandura, and like just to take a tour. And, after that, it sort of became like a dream. This is where I want to be. But
how old were you at this point?
Probably 16.
16? Oh,
yes.
Dude, you went through the exact same thing as me. When I was 16, I came to Perth for the first time, and I told my parents at that day after we went back home, I will come back to Australia. Somehow we will come back to Australia. Wonder why that is, right?
I mean,
wonder why?
It's just a city. It's just Australia. I don't know. It just
has a vibe to it that makes you want to come to it. I don't know why.
Absolutely, yeah. So I just came in and like took a tour and thought to myself I should be here when I'm doing my undergraduate degree, and it did end up happening. Okay,
so tell me about the process, about like how you decided to research online, why Swinburne, why Melbourne. Like talk to me about the whole process from you back in India to Dubai. How do you get here at this point?
Actually, it's the most chaotic process, at least in my case. So it was peak COVID 2020. I just written my 12th board exams, which is pretty important back in India. It's crucial. It's a determining factor. I just wrote my exam and my results were delayed like 3 months, I think. So we can only apply to Australian unis once you have the result in hand, and mine was delayed like 3 months. So I could not really apply, and also it was depending on the fact that, what's my score going to be like, because there's like scholarship differences and you had to look at finances as well. So I ended up getting a good score, and so I was like, what, I think this score is good enough to any uni here in Melbourne. I was particularly looking at Melbourne because a large chunk of my family lives here. So my parents were, like, yeah, you go there, we're comfortable with you being there, because if something goes wrong, you can just, like, you have backup. So it was sort of comfort for them. They really didn't trust me at that time.
How old were you at this point?
Probably 17, 18.
17?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's still like under, you're not legal age yet.
Yep. So, I got decent scores and I applied to like 6-7 unis here in Melbourne. Unimelb, Monash, Deakin, La Trobe, Swinburne,
everything, yeah?
and RMIT. Yeah. I got in every uni, but at the end of the day, it was a scholarship factor for me that sort of really played. So like Melbourne didn't give me any scholarship at all. It was like 45 grand, and Monash gave me I think $10,000 per year, and RMIT, Deakin and La Trobe gave me 30%. Swinburne gave me 50%.
50%?
Yes.
What the fuck was I on? I'm on 10%, bro. I'm on 10%. They scammed me instead.
So it was like COVID, and these guys were giving out big scholarships.
Oh,
and,
okay. Wait, is it for online?
Oh no, it was for the entire course. Yeah.
Shit.
So it was like
50%.
Yes. So I was like, I spoke to a lot of my family here, people who had studied here as well, and they were like, at the end of the day, it's the Australian education that matters. Doesn't matter if you're studying at Melbourne Uni, doesn't matter if you're studying at Swinburne, you're most probably going to have the same experience. You're going to get what you put in. So they highly recommended I take the scholarship, because after considering the scholarship, my fees was pretty much close to what an Australian citizen would pay. So it was like very, very reasonable. I think I ended up paying $16,000 a year. Very reasonable.
That's more than reasonable, but that's amazing,
yes.
bro.
Yes. So I was like, you know what? I think I would choose Swinburne.
I think any international student listening to this is like, what the fuck is this guy? What? But you must have done like reasonably well for your exams to have gotten that 50%.
Yes,
all right.
I did do well, and I also got lucky. I'll tell you that much, because I applied at the right time, and they had these scholarships on. So just a matter of luck and some good studying.
Yeah. So to all the international students out there, when COVID hits again, all right, apply.
Yes.
You get 50%. Bro, that's mad. All right. So once you got Swinburne with the 50% and everything, now you did 1 year online. Talk to me about the online experience, because I was offered the online thing as well, but I just like, especially in media and what we're doing right now, online just doesn't make sense. But you're doing accounting and finance. I guess online isn't too bad, is it? Or how was it for you when you had to do it online?
I would say it's pretty jolly, actually. It's
pretty easy.
If what you're looking at is like just getting through studying and all of the coursework, I would say it's pretty simple. Especially first year is very basic in terms of what I had to study, and doing it online as well. It felt like way easier. The system was new as well here, so they had like a lot of leniency, and like we really didn't have exams. It was more of 24-hour open book tests and all of that. So it was not. I would say it was not much actually, but the thing was, you missed out on uni life, the experience. That is where I think the difference is, being here and like socializing and like getting that uni experience, being at orientation. I was pretty confused is actually what I was in the first year, because coming here is a different experience. You get to know the process. There's a lot of talking to people, getting help. But online I was completely confused. I didn't know where to go for what, and it was more of like trial and error. So I just had to try this, do that. I don't know if it's right or wrong. So it was more of, and the resources were very much bulked and like it's just thrown at me. I just had to pick the right thing. So it was very confusing for me, especially the first semester. And like Swinburne did not onboard me onto a unit for like 3 weeks, and I could not figure out why. And me being in Dubai at that time, I kept calling them, and I had to wake up at like 5 a.m. something like that to even reach them, because the time difference.
Yeah.
And it was such a pain that way. But the course, as it was pretty easy. But I feel like after coming here, the second year when I came here, I felt like, I should have probably postponed it and like actually did an in-person degree, because that first year would have been a whole lot better if I been here.
Yeah, because it's better that you get to study in real life, of course, like when you have your lecture in front of you and everything. When we're doing this podcast, if I did it with you online, it wouldn't have been as personal as it could have been. But at the same time, what we've been talking a lot about this podcast is coming here. Yes, we succeeded as international students to like go to Australia and start your journey, but the problems that come with it that we didn't realize, like rent, friends, loneliness, all these things, this is where the story of an international student gets really interesting, right? So your first year coming here, man, how is it like? Like, you live with your family or you rented a place by yourself?
So the first 3 months I lived with my family. I lived with my aunt, very, very far away from Swinburne. So like I had to...
Swinburne is in Hawthorne?
Yes.
Where's your place?
Greensboro. So Greensboro is like near... it's like,
North, south, east?
Heidelberg, near Heidelberg side. So like, I think northwest, not sure.
Northwest, okay. How long does it take?
An hour and a half by metro. So I used to come in every single day. Hour and a half up, an hour and a half down. So 3 hours of traveling. So got to know the metro lines really well. But yeah, that was good 3 months. Different experience.
Was the metro at least good for you at this point of time?
Sorry, come again?
Was the metro at least decent enough for you at this point of time? I feel like the metro is just so unreliable that there was a reason why I bought this car, right? It wasn't because I wanted to flex. It was because the metro was so fucking unreliable. I decided, you know what? I have to get a car.
Depends on the line. Like, if you're in Pakenham Cranbourne line, you better get a car. But that line, Hurstbridge, was pretty good.
Was okay.
Is okay. So it's like reliable. Like, maybe I think I probably had to take like 1 or 2 weeks where I had to get a bus or something like that. So otherwise it was okay. And pretty reliable train timings as well. So it was okay. But like the journey overall was way too long. 3 hours of
1 hour 30 minutes.
3 hours of my day was gone in metro. So and after that I moved to Elstonwick, which
that's
is
a lot closer.
Yeah, 25 minutes.
25 minutes to school.
25 minutes. So again, 2 trains, but like still okay. Doesn't matter. Much better off from an hour and a half. So moved into Elstonwick, and yeah, as you're saying, rent is super expensive.
So who do you move in with? Like just a random roommate or?
So this place I'm staying at is actually a really fun place. It's a 21 bedroom mansion.
20 what?
21. Yes. So it's
Wait. How do you find this place in the first place?
flatmates. So me and my friend, who's also studying at Swinburne, we both were looking for a place to move together.
Okay.
And so like looking through flatmates, we'd gone through a couple of our houses by then, and this one popped up. This is the only one that was actually like close to the photos, where they put these stock photos up, and then you go in there, it's like complete
I know they have that fucking stock photo. I don't know
Yes.
where they get it from.
Every single house I'd gone before then was like complete trash. They show gold and everything on the yeah, you go in there and it's like completely littered and you just can't stay there. This is the only one that was decent, but then it was really big and like felt more like a haunted mansion actually. Yeah, but it didn't have proper lighting, but like it was very big and old and like extremely lovely suburb. Every other house apart from that particular house is super well maintained and like probably $3-4 million.
Okay.
So this one was a bit off, but it's actually a student accommodation. It's like 21 bedroom student accommodation, but more used as a traveler's lodge because anyone can come and stay there for like 2-3 weeks. There's no sort of full-fledged contract where you have to stay for 6 months or something like that. So that way it was pretty flexible. And rent is also okay. I think I pay like $720 a month. So it's
At that time $720 was like a solid price.
Yeah, so it was like pretty okay. And I just had me and my friend moved in, and soon a lot of my friends started moving in after hearing about this. So now I had like 4-5 people from Swinburne at the
Oh
place.
really? 4-5? Oh shit, that must have been a party, bro.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, and there's always new people coming in, like people from all sort of countries traveling. They're here for a working holiday and all of that. So it's good to socialize with all of them, and it's a good atmosphere to be in. So that way I think I got lucky there as well in terms of having people around. And I thought it was my first time staying all alone, so I thought it went way better than what I could have imagined because of the people around me, and also because I just came to uni and like kept myself occupied.
See, this is what I mean by every single time I talk to another international student, the story is just extremely different that I can't base it on one. Everyone usually finds like an apartment or a house, and then we have one finding a bloody mansion with 5 different students and just enjoying life. But let's talk a little bit about like your experience with living by yourself, man. I think the number one thing that I find the hardest was all these small things you have to buy yourself now, like cups, chairs, bed sheets, all these things where like while you're doing your degree, where you're trying to focus on your degree, and your parents are always telling you, I'm assuming no racism at this point, but like Indian parents be like, just go there and do your degree, like don't focus on anything else. But you're like, but I don't have soap, I don't have cups. Like, how was that transition for you, bro? I'm assuming it was tough for me, man. I hated doing house chores and stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, growing up, the only thing I had to actually worry about was just going to school. Everything else was there, food, my clothes ready, ironed out. Everything else was there, not have to worry about anything else. But here, completely different. So it's like my biggest problem right now is like worrying what I'm going to have next, what I'm going to cook next. Like, what do I have to buy? So I feel like I waste so much time in the daily
cooking
admin
department,
stuff.
right?
Going to Coles.
What do you usually make?
Oh, I just make a lot of pasta. Keeping it simple, and at times Indian as well. But I like making sandwiches, panini sandwiches.
Yeah.
So,
But I'm sure you didn't eat sandwiches at all back then, right?
not much.
Not much, right? It's only when you come here, right? You start making sandwiches, not because it's Western or Australian. It's just you're lazy, right?
You're easy. It's fun.
Yeah, keeping it simple. Just putting bunch of stuff together and you have food. So
Yeah, I remember the weirdest one was I had this friend that I made on the first semester, and she said, "Oh, do you want to have lunch in the park?" And I said, "Okay, cool. I'll get some sushi or something." And then she went to her backpack, and I thought that she was gonna take like a sandwich or something. She took out a fucking apple, and that was her lunch. And I looked at this woman. Is that it? Yeah. What is happening? Bro, the culture difference is so big, because we talked about this earlier before, right? How we usually don't eat lunch by ourselves, and usually lunch would be like rice, noodles, like chicken. It'll be a big thing, like biryani, like that kind of big shit. And then coming here, you're like, what is this lunch that you're speaking of? I don't get it.
I mean, it's actually pretty sad. When I have a couple of friends, like, when I first came in here, they used to buy one thing for lunch and have it for dinner as well, to keep it cheap. And like that sort of thing was pretty sad to hear about, because probably growing up they would have had proper meals like breakfast, lunch and dinner, and now it's just like, they're buying HSP at like the cheapest price possible and then splitting it over.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh,
I feel like
that's when you know you're an international student.
Yes.
When you have a HSP and you split it for
Yes.
2 meals.
Yeah, so it's actually pretty sad. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this uni eats thing, where I'm trying to make food more affordable for students, and like trying to add value to the student ID, where you can go and get discounts as well. So
You want to explain a little bit about what you're doing?
Yeah.
I don't mind. Just shout it out.
yeah,
Yeah.
so Uni Eats is a platform that shows the best student food discounts.
How do you spell that for them?
UNIEATS. So you can go check it out at unieats.com.au. So we shows the best student food discounts around campus, and basically I just go out, talk to restaurants, be like, what? There's a whole bunch of students interested in getting some deals at your place. Would you be interested in giving us a discount? And then it's on and off conversation, and then they give us a discount, and I list it on my platform and do marketing via like Instagram Reels and all of that. So we are also on Instagram. You can go check us out. And so we partnered with Student Life, and because this is one of the things that they wanted to solve as well. A lot of students asking if they could get student discounts, and they didn't want to go do it themselves. And when they got to know we're doing it, so we sort of collaborated, and they sort of help us out in terms of putting it out there in the Student Life page, making it more aware among the student community. So we've been around for like a year, I think, only around Swinburne though, trying to work it out around here, and then slowly maybe expanding to the city. So it's just a fun project that I started third year of uni. Actually, it started because I had this 1 year free plan for like a no-code platform, and I wanted to do something with it. So I just got this idea and then built something over a weekend. And then I'm like, what? Why don't I actually go get deals? And that's how it started.
Nice. Yeah, because food, man, we can talk about food all day over here, man. Like the price to buy food is like at least $15, which is just ridiculous. It makes sense with the wage. Like if you get 25 an hour and stuff, it's still fine. But if you're below 21, you get 19 an hour, 20. Then that's where it's really troublesome for us. And I think we can call out Swinburne for this, right? We know there's this the restaurant right below the like outside the library. That place has been closed the entire 2-3 years in Swinburne, and that's the only cheap place that I see. I can see the prices from outside, but that place has been closed for like 3 years for no reason. I don't know why. And there's a lot of food places in Swinburne. I'm not like that's for sure. There's a lot of cool places. We're at the heart of Glenferrie Station, but everything is expensive. It doesn't make sense. Even for people in Monash and RMIT, you're in the city. Like, where are you gonna buy cheap food for yourself?
It's absolutely heartbreaking, when I go and look at the prices there. It just feels so ridiculous. Like, comparing it to the real prices just feels so ridiculous, because I feel like Hawthorne in general is a pretty expensive area, and like if you want to get something decent, as you're saying, it's $15, and I think it's very expensive. So even probably at Monash, I feel it's way more reasonable. You can get something at $10, and probably it's a bit far off from the city. Maybe that's why, I'm not sure. But here, I think in general, the cost of living and like the cost of food has gone up so much, and it just seems so unreasonable.
Yeah, and that was another thing for me in terms of culture that was kind of weird, was that the school itself doesn't have like a restaurant or like a cafe. We have one cafe, but they don't really have food. They have coffee. We have coffee everywhere for some reason. There's like fucking 5, 6, 7 cafes around Glenferrie, but it's not like we want to have lunch with a latte. Like, that doesn't make any sense, and it's $5 for a latte. So yeah,
it's still market prices. It's not like it's subsidized. So and that's what I was thinking as well. It's so obvious that a really good healthy meal at a cheap price would absolutely sell out here, but it's just, I feel like uni should be doing something like that, where they're setting up a simple food station or something like that, where you can come and pay $7 and do some.
Yeah, because Swinburne does do like free food during orientation and stuff, but other than that, it's extremely expensive, man. Come on, you're already getting like 60,000 per year from each student, from international students. Like,
they can do that.
They can do that.
They can definitely do that.
You just upgraded your the park for that Aboriginal thing, so just make the food a little bit cheaper, man. Just to help us, save us a little bit. Even the food places in our school is not cheap at all. Like, and the standard is just bad, man. I love Swinburne, right? Don't get me wrong, Swinburne. Like, I love Swinburne, but there's certain things that we can improve on.
Absolutely. I think the restaurants inside Swinburne are not particularly great, but
to anyone listening, man, just, it is what it is, man. We gotta improve that shit.
But in terms of options, I think we got very lucky being in Glenferrie Street, so it's like whole ton of options, but everything is expensive.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your degree, Len. Like the whole experience, bro. Like with the second and third year you did your degree here, how was that whole experience, and like how is study and work culture different in here compared to where you're from?
So, big difference actually. So, growing up, high school, I was a very shy kid. Did not like to do much actually. Just going in, studying, and like, talking to friends, and did not do any of the extracurricular activities. Just studying, right? And very introverted as well. Did not like talking to new people. Was very shy about it and like uncomfortable in general. But I think all of that changed when I came here. Just felt like, I just had to push myself, and there was a need for it. So I just went out and started really enjoying it. And another big change in general, I sort of felt was like in India, right? There's these teachers behind you, right behind you, like, yeah, do your exams, study, and like get these grades and all of that. There's this pressure. But here I feel like, nobody really cares. If you're interested, you do it.
I thought you meant like there was actually a teacher behind the class just staring at you like...
As in the teachers there take it very personal. Like your performance is very personal to them. Whereas here it's more of a job. But not necessarily. I feel like if you put in some effort and if you go and ask them questions, they really go out of their way to help you out. But otherwise it's just a standard thing, where they don't really care if you come to class, they don't really care if you do the assignment, you fail the unit, doesn't matter. But I feel like here you go in and like put your effort, you get whatever effort you put in for, you get the rewards for it. So it's sort of very like go-getter sort of attitude that works here. Whereas in India, you just everyone has to do it. You just feel pushed to do it. And if you don't have the motivation here, I don't think so you'd really survive or like be successful here.
Our teachers in high school told us, so like year 11, year 12, is they tell us that if you had plans on going to university, know that if you do not give a shit, if you do not care about your work and you don't go to class, your teacher will have zero obligation to give a shit about you. Like, it's entirely up to you whether or not you want to put in the effort, because only then will you reap the rewards that effort gets you. Because, yeah, your teachers at uni, they don't care if you come or not.
Absolutely. That's spot on. And it's sort of a sneak peek into real life, yeah?
Yeah.
Like if you decide to stay put, you would stay put. If you decide to do something about it, you might get somewhere.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I like that. Like, it's a sneak peek to real life because I'm coming from Singapore as well. It's an Asian country. A lot of Chinese and Malay people. And it's very, very structured. Everyone is exactly what I said. There's always teachers behind your backs. Even in uni, even though technically you can do what you want, they're always like pushing you to strive for the best grades. And that's the one thing that I really had to shift my mindset because I'm in media communication. The experience that I grew up with, if you do well, teachers will notice you. Like if you get 80, 90, 1000%, the lecturers will notice you. Over here, I get high distinction, no one gives a fuck. All the lecturers will just look at you. He got a high distinction. I don't remember even marking it. They don't give a shit. Because no offense to any of my classmates back then, right? I knew I had the technical skills for certain subjects, for example, with videography or audio, because I've already done it back at home. And a lot of people just started when they come here. And I've realized my lecturers were paying attention to them and they were like, oh, you did such a good job, you're amazing. It's because they're talking to each other and you reap what you sow, right? If you talk to that lecturer and then you show the work, you put the effort, and then they start talking to you, then that's where you get the recognition. That's where people offer you, like, the lecturers, maybe they do projects outside and they would want to work with you. This is where you get the networking to really, really excel. But that's when I realized after the first year, talk to your lecturers, man. Just stay back, talk to them. You really don't know where it's going to lead to, man, because the grades only do so much. They don't give a shit about your grades.
Absolutely, especially after COVID, right? The distance between the students and the teachers, I think, have gotten a bit more because there's this option of hybrid classes as well nowadays. You don't necessarily have to come into classes in certain units. So people just prefer to stay online. I've had classes where there's like 2-3 people, and then there's a lecturer coming in teaching all of the things and like probably even telling you what's coming in the exam, but nobody cares. So I feel like building that connection really goes a long way, because if they see that you're interested, you want to do something, they're really there. They go extra way to help you out, right? I know this teacher at Swinburne who gives out internships for people who do well at that particular unit and is like interested showing up to class. She was the only one who sort of used to take attendance to see who comes to class, and like it was a combination of coming to class, answering questions, and then like doing well. You land in internship via her. So all of that. So I feel like the stuff out there is just that you have to show interest, put in some effort, and go get it. And like, yeah, just build that relationship with your professor. In fact, one of my finance professors, I was telling him I'm doing this finance exam, CFA, and all of that. And then he goes out and he's like, yeah, I'll give you my 30-year-old calculator, which is like cost you $100 if I had to go and get a new one, because we need a financial calculator, something very specific for that particular exam. So he just gave me that, and that's the sort of thing that professors are ready to help, ready to put that extra effort to make you successful. But I feel like people they don't really care about it. They're just like coming to class, doing what needs to be done, getting that pass, and moving on. So I feel like if you just go in and talk to your professors, build that connection, you'd go a long way.
I kind of wonder why, like in terms of culture, why we care a lot about education as Asians, but this connection networking thing isn't as strong back at home. I don't really know why it would be.
I feel like there is this structure, there is this hierarchy.
Yeah, hierarchy. Yeah.
Very prominent in India, and I'm assuming most Asian countries.
Yeah, most Asians. Yeah.
So the teacher and the students is this gap, which I feel like gets transferred when you come here as well, because it was with me as well. For example, calling your teacher by their name.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Big thing.
I hate this.
It was so hard for me at first, like so unusual. I used to call them sir, and at times I've been told to call them by the name and not sir. So all of that completely new to me, and I really couldn't see them as a friend or someone who's there to help me, but more as a teacher, someone who's superior and like there to sort of put you in place, sort of thing.
Yeah. Me and Uday were talking about this just now. Like in the English language, there's no formal and informal. There's only the name, you, I. In Malay, there's like aku and kau. Aku and kau is the informal way of saying I and you. And then in Indian, there was a formal and informal as well, right?
In Hindi, it's tu and up. Yeah.
Tu and up.
Tu and up. Yeah. So like
that's the formal.
Like, up would be formal, and then tu would be like informal, like friend.
Yeah. And that, I think, naturally with that language, you feel like there is a hierarchy to different people with how you speak to older people, younger people. But the English language is so fluid that sometimes it's kind of weird that you have to talk to everyone comfortably. It's a good and bad. It's just different, just different.
I think that's one of the things that I sort of realized after coming here was the barrier in terms of connecting with people is very low here in terms of comparing it to India, for example. If let's say I'm looking up to someone, there's this person who's been doing very well in some particular field that I'm interested in, I want to have a chat with them. I feel like it's impossible almost to get a hang of them, to cold email them, for example, and be like, yeah, could we have a coffee or something that's very unusual. But here, I think that's where the difference is. Once you figure that out, that person is just another person here to help you out, like be it the professor, or be it someone else, be it a CEO of a company. You can just cold email them or message them on LinkedIn, be like, introduce yourself and tell them what guidance you're after, and maybe even grab a cup of coffee, and they would be down for it. I've had like many scenarios where I've asked people for like a coffee for advice, and they've been down for it. So that's the sort of thing is the biggest advantage I feel here. You can absolutely go and pick anyone's brain you want. It's just that you have to go and ask.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the weirdest shift that I had coming from Singapore, because there was always that hierarchy, and then coming here, it's like you can just break the rules. If you get rejected, fine, just move on, then go to the next one. But speaking of CEOs and like cold emails and stuff, did you have any experience with like part-time jobs? Do you do any part-time jobs when you were here?
No, but I did do a couple of internships. I did not have a part-time job as in one that paid me. It was more of like internships that I did with like startups and everything. But I did have a whole bunch of experience trying to reach out to people in terms of getting internship opportunities, or every opportunity that I went after was something that I had made, as in I'd gone there looking for an opportunity rather than something that was...
How did you look for internships?
I made a rule that I'm not going to apply for anything that's on the internet or on LinkedIn.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So how I used to look for opportunities is I used to look at companies, look at startups, and basically look at any company that's interesting to me. It sort of aligns with what they're doing, as in my interests align with what they're doing. So I just used to pick these companies out, used to cold email the founder, or sometimes I've even walked into their office and be like, this is me. I'm interested in what your company is doing. I would love to be helping you out in this area. Let me know if there's an opportunity. And I feel like you just stand out instantly because they remember, right? So once I went and waited at this company's lobby for an hour, and that person remembered. Later I sent them an email saying, yeah, I came in here, I waited at your lobby for an hour, but so they had this system where you could press the person's name and who you're meeting and they would come down. But when I pressed the founder's name, they really didn't come down because they didn't know me, of course, because I was there out of nowhere. So later I waited there for an hour, and the next day I sent them an email being like, yeah, this is me. I was here for this. I'm looking for an internship. And then they called me. I put my number in the email, and they're like, I'm super impressed with what with the way you approached us. They're down to give me what I want. So that was sort of things that I tried out here, which I think now it may be possible back in India, but probably 5-6 years before, I don't think so that would happen.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I would say I'm the opposite. I looked at everything on LinkedIn, Seek, Indeed, everything. I think everyone is doing that right now. But that's a very interesting way to approach things because I think granted, you know what you want. That's very, very important. A lot of us, and it's fine, we don't know what we want, to be honest. And I think me and you, we know what we want. And for people who know what they want, I think Australia is definitely a good place for you to cold email, go in straight. I think it really shows the ballsiness of you and just standing out to that company. I think that's a very, very good point that you brought.
Absolutely, and networking is big as well here. So it's a lot of the good jobs or good opportunities are going through referrals to the people you know, and just going out to networking events. So when I was in uni, I used to go to a lot of startup networking nights. Every Thursday there's something happening in Melbourne, and I used to go to most of them. So that was one of my things when I was in uni, go to 2-3 events every week. And someone who's very uncomfortable networking is completely new, but I started enjoying it. So that's where I got most of my opportunities. I used to run the entrepreneurship club at uni, so I used to get most of my guests through these networking events as well. I used to go to these events and look at people speak, and someone who was interesting enough, I just used to approach and be like, yeah, would you be interested in speaking to Swinburne, coming down to Swinburne and sharing your experience with our members as well. So those were the sort of things I was interested in, and I feel like it's a good culture here in terms of meeting people and getting to know them, and people are ready to help. That's what I found. It's you just have to ask.
Yeah. What I've realized over here is the uni experience is more than just the study, man. There's so many events. I have went to Monash RMIT events, Swinburne events. There's so many events that you're like, why didn't I take advantage of this? To be honest, because the first year I just ignored it. I just went to Swinburne does this Thursday nights. There's a party night every Thursday. They had cowboy, a lot of different events, and I only went for that one. And I just kind of regretted not going for more during the first year. So I think what people should get out of this last part is go for the events, man. There's so many events. The degree can only do so much for you, but the networking side of it really, really helps you a lot. And I want to end it off on a fun note. What's your favorite thing about Melbourne, man? What has been the best thing that's happened to you when you come here to Melbourne?
Ooh, the best thing? Probably starting this uni Eats. That's been the best thing for me coming to Melbourne, because I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. So I feel like after being at Swinburne, I could see a problem here. I could see a real life problem. It's just that first thing, restaurants were not getting enough customers because it is more expensive, and the Uber Eats and all these sort of all these sort of startups are taking a big cut of any deliveries that they're doing. At the same time, students can't find anything that's affordable. So I just saw a problem there, and I was able to do something about it. So that, I would say, is a big win for me coming into Melbourne. But did you ask me what's my favorite thing about Melbourne?
Yeah.
Okay. My favorite thing about Melbourne is probably the coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you drink coffee back then in India?
Yes. So I think I started drinking coffee at a very early age. I think I started when I was 10.
10 years? What the fuck?
Yeah, I didn't know. I was the same.
10? Really? Oh shit.
Well, it starts with chai, and for me it started with chai, and then my dad, who drinks coffee 2-3 cups a day, is crazy about it. He fucking loves Melbourne coffee.
Yeah, because I've never drank coffee at all. Not at all, but I just didn't like coffee. But everyone was saying just go out for coffee, and I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I'll just start with a hot chocolate. And then the hot chocolate turned to hot mocha, and then mocha turned to latte, and then latte turned to cappuccino, and then now I'm just in the Australian. That's when you know you became Australian, man.
When you're ready to pay $5 for a coffee. You know,
Yeah. When you're ready to go out for fun, and then next thing you know, you buy 2 coffees in one day, you're dead.
Yeah.
You've lost your Indian citizenship,
So
bro.
expensive.
No more Indian citizenship for you. You're done. Yeah. All right, dude. Thanks, man. Thanks for being on the podcast, and this is it.
Thank you, Hammy, for having me.